What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Oxygen Not Included Season 3, and I have jumped ahead, actually. I was going to show you the moving over of the 𝐑𝐄𝐋𝐿s and of the eggs, but I've done it all. The automations aren't in place, but everything has been moved, and the original farms are emptied. Just for your benefit, I hope. I realised the last couple of episodes were kind of the same thing. We don't want that. We want to move forward as quickly as possible. So clearing up that puff. We do not want the puff in the world, so we are going to eat him or her instead. And we're going to jump straight onto something more interesting now. The farms over here, you can see I am filling with the mealwood for now, just to see what we're doing. But actually, that's a mistake because the mealwood doesn't turn into a good food. And I am figuring that out in my head now. So what I just explained to you actually is what I was sort of thinking then. So what I'm going to try and do is switch over to fungal spores, which grows the mushrooms. Mushrooms are reasonably easy to grow. They don't work in oxygen, though, so you do need to have carbon dioxide and dark. But dark is anything that there isn't a light, right? Strangely, even though we can see everything fine, you've got to remember that actually there are no lights anywhere. So technically this place is pitch black. But the duplicates don't care about that, and we use lights for research and crafting and nothing else. They'll make do as they go. Just to make sure I didn't skip too far forward, there are glossy 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿s in the second farm up. You can see there are 2. They are from the eggs that were incubating earlier on. And of course they're going to be met up with a third one soon, and then the rest of them will have to come from the 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿 farm below or the actual glossy 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿s directly themselves. They're all on the same progress, they're all eating the same food, and they're all in hydrogen, so there shouldn't be any issues there at all. So onto the sweepers for the first room of this new setup. These sweepers are, of course, for the incubator room, just making sure they reach, so moving it over 1 block, because I put it down and realised it was short. There we go. Just need 2, unfortunately. Yes, you can amend the mod to make it so I only need 1, but I'm not modding mods. If that makes any sense. I'm not amending mods. I'm working with the mods as they are because, well, then you can do them too. If I amend them, then you would have to do that as well, and it's not that useful for people following on if they wish to. Anyway, oh, that guy's got a balloon. He's happy. So the sweepers are going to do a couple of things for us, but mainly just save time from the duplicants picking up anything that lands on the floor, and that will be eggs, of course. As you can see, there is one. The eggs will get picked up. Any of the off-casts of the actual critters. So, reed fibre for the 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿s, plastic for the glossy 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿s. That's now finished as well, and there is our final baby 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿, glossy 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿 even, that needs to be picked up, and then we'll rip all of that out because this is no longer needed. Yeah, back to the sweepers. So yeah, the plastic from the glossy 𝐑𝐂𝐋𝐿s as well. In the actual incubator room, it will of course get the eggshells. They will go to be crushed and used as lime, because that is another way of getting lime as well that we need. And anything else that drops out of there, really. But mainly, the main issue there is the eggshells. And then for the hatches, of course, it's just their byproduct, their excretions or their crap, poo, whatever you want to call it. So coal and refined ores will be collected as well. They'll all be dropped off in the same place, somewhere in the centre, around one of the storage chests. I will try, and as soon as I get the ability to have the sorter, which is quite a late game item for the shipping pipes, but I'll make sure that the eggs immediately go back into the incubator room. The sweepers that are in there will then pick them up and put them in the chests in there, unless there is room in an incubator, and then of course it will automatically start them incubating. Setting up another automated pump here. Now, I already had one, of course, but I've just moved it lower for taking the carbon dioxide out of the base. So the carbon dioxide obviously always settles at the bottom of your base, wherever you have or however you build it. I have built it down. You can see that section where it can congregate. But of course, it will then fill that up and come into the base. Now, that floor that the actual pump is on, you can see them coming in on that path. That whole orange path is supposed to be access. Now, I don't want my access to be unbreathable, which is why they're all holding their breaths and having to run up the ladder to breathe. So I put it there, and the idea is I don't want the carbon dioxide to be above that point. And the automated dongle that I've put next to it will do that, hopefully. And we'll obviously sort it out as we go along, or improve it, tweak it. But the plan there is that that floor, which is an excess floor, which is actually, if you're looking at it, it's the one they're using the most. More than the one up top anyway, in the middle. But they're all having to hold their breath, and that's, of course, not great. You wouldn't want to hold your breath if you was walking to the toilet, right? Now, they're obviously always having to go through there, up the ladders where the farms are. That is, of course, also no oxygen, because I'm trying to create a vacuum there. And then they get into the actual farms, and some of them have oxygen, some of them don't. So there's a lot of breath holding, and it's really not fair on them. You can actually see I have put a gas mask thing there on that bottom left, so that when they go to the farms, they will be gas masked up. But I haven't got around to making them yet, or plumbing them in, because I don't want to start ripping out oxygen from the base to fill them, because that usually doesn't end well, especially if you forget about it. More cables, more wires. These are the upgraded variant. You are having to use refined metals for those, but there is no way I am going to be able to run the amount of sweepers that I've just asked to build, which I think is about 10-ish, give or take. There's no way I am going to be able to run them on a 1 kilowatt wire, so I'm going to take that over now. Eventually, all of these wires will be replaced. The 1 kilowatt wires will be ripped out, and then I'll put the obviously the better ones in. But using the rock crusher to do the refining is a bit slow, and it's certainly not the most efficient way of doing it. Yes, I can use a refinery, but I need to sort out the right hand side of the base first before I make an area for that, and I want to put it in a vacuum, or at least a vacuum gapped room, so that we can try and control the temperature much better. So back into the research room finally, and I've moved the old rooms over, or the old buildings over, stations. And for those of you that have played this game before, you know what's coming next. This is applied science. So this is a science level 3, as you call it, or the yellow science as it is depicted on the research table. And to do this, you need rad bolts, which is radiation. The easiest way that I find to do this, unless I'm on near the surface, I've broken to the surface and I'll use the radiation that's just there in space. But if you've got Wheezeworts, or you're able to get them, then this is the easiest way of doing it. So I've got the 5 garden plots there, hydroponic plots. All I need to do then is ask for the Wheezeworts to be planted there. As soon as I've got one planted and it's fertilized with phosphorite, I believe, phosphate, that will immediately start giving off radiation, and the radiation collector will immediately start collecting it. Then, using these reflectors, it will send it into the research machine that I've just built there on the left hand side of the 3 buildings. And I will, of course, as always, chuck in both a light bulb on an automation to make it quicker, and an automated wire from that research station to stop the rad bolt gun from firing if it is already full. Now, as you can see, it gives off a green signal when it's full. Now, that's backwards, because green means go. You don't want it to fire when it's full. You want it to stop when it's full. So remember to run it through a NOT gate. I'm just doing that now. Then it has to go into the flat side first, like that. So now what will happen when the machine, the applied research machine is full of rad bolts, it holds 100, it will then send a green signal. The green signal will go into the NOT gate, which will convert it into a red signal. The red signal will stop everything from running. As it stands now, as you can see, it's giving off a red signal because it's less than 100 out of 100. And that means the NOT gate is switching it to a green signal and telling everything to run as planned. Don't forget to wire up the power to your rad bolt generator. 480 watts there required, so it is significant. Make sure you're not over capping something, because that will run constant for a very long time. To get them 100 rad bolts, especially doing it this way, it's a couple of cycles or so. So stage 2 to that plan is to actually get the Wheezeworts. Now luckily they're right there. There they are. There's sleet wheat around there as well that I'm going to dig up. But the Wheezeworts are those giant looking blue carrots. Now for reference, they absorb a gas and excrete a gas. They also create a massive temperature drop. So using them in your base as plants is not the best idea. They also give off a decent amount of radiation, which is the whole purpose of us using them. The first thing I'm going to do is just chuck a ladder down to their location. I know that they are in a very cold environment, negative 18 or so. So the first thing I'm actually going to do before I break through the abyssalite, which is the sort of one of the best insulators in the game, is to chuck in an insulated airlock. That will mean that as soon as I've built that and wired it up, I can then dig beyond it, the tunnel, to the plants that I want. And a minimum amount of the cold should be able to escape into the base, causing hopefully no issues at all. Remember though that this whole biome I'm going to rip out actually, and try to just give me some areas and items that I want. Now the ice is good because ice is water, remember that. And water is your most precious resource. So we need to get that ice and turn it into water. We can then use it. Of course, polluted ice is exactly the same. You can sieve it clean and use it as water. And then frozen brine or salt water will also eventually become water if you do the standard process. So the frozen biomes are good for getting the resources that you need, but also you need to make sure that that doesn't get into your base. Luckily for me, as you can see, it's actually where we dig in through the door, and then there's the vacuumed circumference of the farms, and then more insulation, and then our base. So I very much doubt that it's ever going to cause a problem in the base. Just having a quick look now at the stone hatchlings to make sure they are eating the ores and they are in fact turning into smooth hatches. The percentage will grow over time. Eventually it will become 100% and all we'll get is smooth hatches. But in the meantime we will have to waste some ores, because of course the stone hatches eating the ores are not going to turn them into refined metals, so they will be wasted. Oxygen wise in the base looking nice. There was that bottom left that was dark, but that's because, yes, we're growing the mushrooms. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about that sort of lava area that's in my way. I am going to mine some coal up quickly because I'm running a bit low. But also, even further down from there, there are 2 giant gold mines. No, that is totally the wrong word. Gold volcanoes, which is brilliant for the fact that that's infinite gold. Everybody likes gold, right? But the gold is about 1400 degrees, so not so good. What I'll probably try and do is find a way of getting in there with a couple of Atmo suits to keep them as safe as possible, survey them, then using the move process, I can make a little area for them and then move them into there and put them next to each other. Nice square, just chuck them both in, and then the liquid lava, which it's not lava because it's not stone. The liquid molten gold, wait for it to cool down and then collect it. You can automate it to a point. You've just got to be careful of the temperatures, because even if you automate picking up the solid gold, the gold will still be many, many hundreds of degrees even when it immediately goes solid. So I could do with a mod that actually looks at temperatures, but I'm not sure I've ever seen one. Back to the research room now, because hopefully we've got somebody on there. There he is. She. And there we go. That's the Wheezewort planted. We just need it to be fertilised now. You can tell it's not fertilised by 2 reasons. One is that I know it's not. But 2 is that it's brown. And it should be blue. So as soon as somebody comes along to fertilise that, like so, there we go. So that is now processing. It's cooling everything around it, but I'm not convinced that's going to be a massive issue. If it is, I'll sort it at a later date. For now, you can see the rad bolt generator is absorbing that radiation. Eventually, the bar underneath it will fill up. It will then fire through the reflectors into the applied machine, and we will start doing the next level of research, which is the level 3 research, as mentioned. There is one more after that with the discs, the floppy disks. There is one there on the screen up to that left where you can see that little brain in a box. That's a bit rougher, actually. The Radbolt one isn't too bad, I don't think, personally. That set was reasonably simple to do. Again, if you can get to the surface as well, the surface is obviously full of radiation, so you can just chuck a Radbolt collector up there. Alternatively, you can use a Radbolt generator, which is basically a machine that you put uranium in and it just gives off radiation. That works too. It's not as safe, but it works too. The up arrow, obviously, in the incubator room, and then we'll set that to 0. This means that they'll automatically, of course, pick up the critters, baby critters, as they hatch. Just going down the line on the incubators and telling them to auto drop. So as soon as the egg hatches, the incubator itself will drop the critter on the floor. And then the arrow here will then depict, because it will be set to 0, and say pick it up, and immediately one of the ranchers should come over and take them to their relative room. We hope. Of course, though, while we don't have any cooling in place, we do have an issue with the incubator room doing what we expected it to do, and that is getting too hot. It does, they do, and anybody going in there is starting to be injured. So what I'm going to do is chuck down a thermometer, chuck down some automation wire, and set a temperature so that when it gets to a certain temperature, I think 60 degrees is enough, it will automatically turn everything off and allow the room to cool down a bit. This way it keeps the room at a steady temperature, it doesn't get out of hand. The process may be a little bit longer, i.e. the eggs hatching might take a little bit longer, but it is definitely the crudest way of maintaining a respectable temperature in that room until you come to some sort of cooling solution. Finally putting in the third set of bathrooms up here. They are staggered, so you can see there is 3 floors between the first and the second. So on the right hand side I have gone 3 floors up and done the same. And then of course above the bathroom I am going to throw in some showers. Should have probably done that a long time ago actually, because it is again a mood buff that is worth having. I'm going to chuck some art in there as well to make it nice and snazzy. Why not? 8 showers per shower room. I think there is a buff. Now, I've only got 12 duplicates, so I only really need 2 of these, and that's probably what I will do. I'll take a look to make sure that I don't need to add something in, actually, to make that into an actual room. I'm pretty sure, though, that should count as a shower room. But it is a fancy shower room, nevertheless. We have reed fibre, so why not chuck some paintings up as well, along with some art. Yes, I could have got 3 more, well, technically 4 more showers in this room, which would have been 12, and that would have been enough for the entire colony. But it's not about efficiency for us, it's about overkill. And overkill means that I'm going to have the best bathrooms, the best looking shower rooms, and the best looking bedrooms for no other reason than we can. And then I'm going to put the second one in up here. Of course, the third one should go above the brand new bathrooms that haven't been built, started to have been built yet, but they will be shortly. We are running low on copper ore, which is why a lot of this stuff is slowing down. Copper ore is something that we use for pretty much everything we build, basics, and also the hatchers are eating the copper ore. So, like I did earlier, where we went around and grabbed a load of coal, I'm going to make a bit of an effort and just do the same with the copper ore. Before we get there, though, this is our room where we have our water storage. As I said, I wanted it stored in these vessels, not in open rooms. And that's it. The one on the right there is clean water. The 2 on the left there are polluted water. Them 2 are going to run through 3 sieves individually, so that they can separate out, because of course the sieve does have a delay before it cleans. So doing it this way should mean that we get it 3 times faster. A little bit of spaghetti to make them all connect. But the idea is that the polluted water comes out and gets individually sent to each of the sieves. All of the sieves then put the clean water into that clean storage, and if that gets full, I'll just build another one. I can fit 3 there. 2 would look nice, 3 would be a bit ugly, but it's fine. We'll make it work, and that way we know exactly how much we've got, because the actual tank tells you how much is in there. For now, I'm not too worried, because we have nearly a full storage of water. That's probably, what, 3/4 full? And then we have 1 full and 1.5 full of polluted. So that's technically 1.5 full of clean water. It'll also give us a lot of dirt, polluted dirt. Or clay, is it? Can't remember. There is a byproduct, though, that it will give us a lot of. But it's just under 1.5, actually, looking at that. But it's fine. And there's obviously a lot more to collect on the map still. We haven't actually tried to grab it all, so we will get around to that. But we are at time, so I am going to end the episode here. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the video, please click like. Any comments are welcome. Join us on Discord. Subscribe for more. Like if you like. Take care. Goodbye.